Hey guys, Justin Nelson here again, the host of the Icon podcast, and we are joined with another Icon agent, David Frost, and I'm going to let him talk a little bit more about his journey, where he's from. He's from one of the biggest military towns in the nation. I do know that. So first off, I want to say thank you to everybody out there that has served. I appreciate David, and I'm sure you're helping a lot of those types of clients out there in that area. So I appreciate that. I want to make sure I say that first. But let's get to the real point of the podcast today. And I want to know, man, a little bit more about your story and why you came to EXP. It sounded like that we had similar backgrounds. We hadn't met until just a few minutes ago. I've heard a lot about you, but we both have similar backgrounds, some recruiting backgrounds, some training backgrounds, big corporate structures. We've been into all the different I mean, you and I have both dove into all the different structures of the biggest real estate companies in the nation. So with that being said, man, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, let's just start right in, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Yeah.
What you got going on? And how did you get into real estate?
Oh man. Okay. So I'm an old guy. I was a military. I was in the Army for a long time. I met my wife that way. We were both Army. She was stationed out this way in Jacksonville. I was stationed at Fort Bragg area, which is another one of the biggest military bases there is. And that's what kind of brought me this way. I transitioned out of the military. I was a CID agent in the military, which is kind of, you don't really hear much about those, but basically we're the NCIS, that television show for the Army. So we did all the felony investigations, which, man, I have a lot of stories there. We can do like 10 podcasts with that, but ultimately I did that for a long time. That was exciting. But you can definitely burn out with that. So I met my wife, I transitioned out, started real estate. She was still in the military, which is great. And then I really, my first year, I sold 14 houses out here, and that was really good first year. But then, things started picking up, and, I convinced my wife to get out, join me. And then we sold 48 that next year, then 71. And then now we've just kept going. So we decided to stay put here. We kind of had our footprint here in Jacksonville, which is, it's a Marine Corps base, which I'm outnumbered here. I'm Army guy, so now I have to deal with all the Marines. But it's been really great for us, and we've done really well. We started a team back in about 2015, and we've had a team since then. Usually a small team, but since we've come to EXP, man, we have grown tremendously. So that's kind of how I started in real estate. Law enforcement it's a good switch to real estate, and vice versa, I think.
It is.
It's weird.
I think a lot of that structure, I think a lot of people struggle in real estate because they don't have that structure. They don't know what procedures are. They don't know what, routine is. And I think a lot of that's what makes a successful agent, is just having that instilled in you.
Absolutely. I agree with you there. Yes. So that's how I started. And I've been to a couple companies. I started at Century 21. And then I went to Coldwell Banker, and then I went to Berkshire Hathaway, where really that's where I kind of did really well. Here is not so much, nothing against the company here. It's just that I was able to get my own office, and I was doing a lot of prospecting. That's kind of where I made my money, was for sale by owners and expireds. So that's kind of how I started real estate, really getting good at that and just calling and talking to people. So, and then I went back to Coldwell Banker as a top agent and top team.
I love that, man. So ultimately you got over to EXP. A lot of people listening to this, they may have been listening to other Icon podcasts. Maybe they got sent this directly from you. And, so we're going to talk a little bit about your Icon journey. And ultimately, before we get into that though, I want to know why you came to EXP. And I think you and I are very similar, that we'll never bash any of the companies we come from. They all gave us different things that have helped us in our journey. But now we've ultimately landed on a new home that's, for the moment, the best thing for our businesses. So when you had been at Century 21, Coldwell Banker, Berkshire Hathaway, you had seen all the pros and cons of all the different models. My guess is you had been approached by Remax and KW, is that you knew all the different models. So when you heard about EXP, what ultimately at that time, even if it's different than now, was the main reason why you made the switch over to EXP?
Well, and that's a great question. My answer is kind of a little more detailed, I think, than simple, because what ended up happening, and like you and I were talking before we went live, is, you were similar, like you were training and being sent out to do that. So I was as well. So I was at Coldwell Banker, and I started, I had a good relationship with the owner of the franchise for this Coldwell Banker here. And basically they started sending me to these offices. He owns about 27 or so Coldwell Banker offices in our area. So I would go there and train the agents in those offices for, prospecting and for sale by owners and scripts and dialogue and objection handling. And eventually they approached me to hire me. So they brought me away from my sales team. My wife took over, and then I became their director of business development, which really was their recruiter and training piece. So that's the funny piece is what I would do is I would take a company or a firm like a Keller Williams or Remax or whatever, and I would research the crap out of it.
Yep.
Because I would have to, I would be like, hey, I got to go talk to Justin today. He's Keller Williams. I got to know how I can compete with Keller Williams being I'm Coldwell Banker. I got to, so I would do all my research. So EXP came along because there was a few EXP agents here, but it wasn't any top movers yet, top producers in a sense that where people are like, ooh, what is that?
Yep.
So I just took that weekend and I researched it, and I was telling my wife, I'm like, this stuff can't be true. Like there's something wrong here. This stuff looks really too good. It was like Jay Kinder said, and that's obviously who I fall under directly is Jay Kinder. But I was watching all his videos, and he always says, once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? Yep. And that's really what happened to me, man. I started becoming addicted to researching it. And then I did my team's numbers. I printed them all out. I started doing numbers. So all in all, the job I had really had me research EXP, eventually me leave for EXP based on that research. So I would say the biggest thing for me was I wasn't going to be able to provide my team with much more than what I already had. I had the Boomtown, and I had a transaction coordinator, which she's awesome, right? So, I had that stuff, but I was only at a certain split at Coldwell Banker, and I couldn't go any higher. I couldn't do it. So I knew I couldn't raise my team members couldn't get a raise, right? Couldn't get promoted anytime soon. And then there was nothing else I could provide them, besides helping them be producers. So EXP attracted me that way with all of us would move over, be able to get rev share. All of us would have the stock options. I would, if I capped, I could change some structure. And, there's a lot of things that brought us over, but those were kind of the biggest things. I think my team more being able to grow and then grow your team in different states as well.
I love that. So kind of what I'm hearing you say is obviously you had shifted to a team focus. And I think, and you probably learned this from Jay as well, there's eventually a point where your team really can't make you more money unless you hire more agents, which means more overhead, which means more, pains because you have to hire management. And then, for you to make more money, you just got to keep replicating that. And so for you, I love how it sounds like you just looked at your business and says, how can I take the machine I already have and not change anything in my machine and go into another ecosystem that will make my agents more money in the same type of machine?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely right on. I mean, that was the main thing, when I approached my agents and told them, hey, this is what I think we should do. I think everybody wins here. And I mean, they were excited. I mean, the two agents I had at the time are like, when are we moving? Like, can we go, next week or what? I'm like, well, it was a big process. We probably had 15, 20 listings at the time. We had a lot of things going on. I said, we got to kind of get things, in order. But so we made a move, and we've been here just over a year. Last month was our year anniversary. So we love it.
I love that, man. So talk to me about that, because I think there's people listening here, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. If there's people listening here that are possibly considering joining you and your guys' organization, whether it's joining your team or joining your bigger organization, which is across the United States, and they might have a team of their own, right? Maybe they're running their own team. They're looking to align with you, and they're scared of what their team members are going to think, right? Because as a team owner, if all my income is being made from my team and helping them grow, and then I want to move to EXP, maybe I know it's right, but I'm scared my team would leave me. That's basically my income leaving with it. So like, did you have any limiting beliefs that Jay and some of your people in your world help you work through? Or did you just go to your team directly and not have that problem? Like, what was kind of that mindset of, being scared around your team not coming with you?
Yes, no, that's a great question. And I think maybe that would be more of, I guess, a seasoned, experienced team. Like the team I had one experienced agent and then me, and then my wife is an agent too, but she's more office manager stuff, right? So I didn't have any fears that the team wouldn't come. I had two brand new agents who were sharp. They're still with me. And by the way, they've capped in EXP sets being, in our first year, they capped. We just went back to our, anniversary. So we started June 1st all over again, but they were capped for about 4 months.
Wow.
So they did really well with doing that. And then of course I capped a little bit before them, but so I wasn't really concerned they wouldn't come over. There was one agent that I felt would probably stay, and she did, but then she has now joined us. So, but she's in Florida now. She moved to a different state, but she's in Florida, but she's also on our team as well. So we're in Florida. But so, yeah, I just approached my team and I said, here's why I think this is a great move for everybody, and here's basically the numbers difference. So I laid it all out there, and to them it was a no-brainer too. Then plus, most teams are gonna, and I know you probably know this too, is most teams really center around their leader. That people are coming to the team, at least initially, for the leader and what the leader can help them grow or become, right? And then everything that goes along with that, it falls into place for them, and that's even better. But I think that's been most successful for me is the success of our team really is a huge driving force to recruiting or agent attraction, without having to just call people. Cause I haven't really called anybody.
Yeah.
I've taken calls. Yes. And then that's where you explain it. But ultimately our success and what people are seeing my agents do on my team really drive the phone calls.
I love that, man. I love that. And so to kind of recircle back around that, like you were very centered on numbers. It sounds like our brains work the same, right? If I can make my agents more money and it makes more sense culturally, we're going to do it. And so, so you moved over for a lot of number reasons to make your agents more money. Has there been anything about EXP that you've liked that maybe you weren't expecting that wasn't so numbers based, whether it's collaboration or, just different parts of the company you maybe didn't know a lot about? Like, is there anything particularly that you would want people to know, like, this is actually way better than I ever imagined it could be at EXP?
Man, you got some great questions. Dang, I swear I got to write them down so I remember when I do my podcast. But listen, yes, and you said it right off the bat. The collaboration is the most undervalued right now on the outside looking in. Like people have no clue that the collaboration between all of us, it's just like you and I, right? I mean, we're icons. We're in our Honey Badger group, and that's how we connected. So it has got me so much information and able to meet people like you that honestly I learned so much from in just a short amount of time. And even my going with Jay Kinder then, but I mean, I've talked to Kyle Whistle, I've talked to Tina Call, I've talked to Treasure David. I mean, all these agents, Veronica Figueroa, I've reached out and talked to each and every one of them, and they always answer, they always text, always very respond. I mean, has helped me grow a lot of different ways. But I would say the collaboration for sure. The next piece is I would say more of the personal branding too. I realized that as soon as we ordered our signs, I'm like, man, we could put our full name on the sign. We could do all kinds of crazy, right? The other Cola Bankers or whatever, you got to have their stuff. And then, your name may be there, but it's small. But
yeah.
So, the branding and the collaboration, I think specifically collaboration is just unbelievable.
I love that. And one of the things I just took away from your conversation there when you're talking about like Treasure Davis, who's out of Colorado, and Tina, who's your local area, and all these different people, Kyle Whistle out of San Diego, like these are all people.
You know them like I do, man. You're like me. We watch, we know.
Veronica, who's out of Florida, like these are all people like that aren't even in your line. Like throw the recruiting, multi-level marketing scheme stuff that people claim it to be. Like these are people that are multi-millionaires, like multi-millionaires that are picking up their cell phone to answer questions when they have no financial benefit from you, which I think is one cool aspect of it. And then I also think, David, that you aligned with people like Jay Kinder, who obviously have people like Michael Reese and Albie Stasic and Cliff Freeman and Brent Gove and all of those different people in your line that was kind of like a built-in, they do have financial interest in you. So when you can't get an answer, they can get it for you.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, so with that being said, like you've come to EXP, you're making your team more money, you're making more money, you're doing production still with your team, you know, you're recruiting a little bit, doing some agent attraction, as we call it. And so like, there's obviously people across the nation that are joining with you and partnering with you, maybe in a non-team, like intimate structure in your organization. And they might be listening in right now going, what is an Icon agent? We just got 15 minutes into a podcast, Justin, and we don't even know what you're talking about. Like, what is an Icon agent? So, David, I would love for you to explain for those that are listening for the first time, what do you have to do to become an Icon agent? If someone's not there yet, what should they be shooting for? And what's the financial benefit of being an Icon agent compared to other companies?
No, those are great questions. So again, the Icon agent, obviously you have to hit certain criteria to become an Icon agent. You got a cap, which is at the $16,000 cap. And then you have to reach another cap in order to then become Icon status. So you got to do some production, and obviously you got to know what you're doing to get there, right? To get the production. So that's how I guess you would call it the Icon status, right? And then what I love again about our company, and this is something maybe another piece to talk about, is once you become an Icon agent in EXP then basically says, all right, now we want you to share how you do things. And there's a couple of different things you could do. One is teaching classes, which is what I am doing is going that route, which, teaching some prospecting class, things like that. That's what I'm really good at. Or you can, be on the iConversations where you're on a panel and then you have to be a moderator as well. And there's a few other ones, and I can't remember the other ones now off the top of my head. You may know the other type things you could do. But ultimately, you have to give back to the agents of EXP as an Icon agent, which I think is excellent, because I've never been to a company where top agents are going to share, they think it's all secretive, right? But it's not. It's really not secretive, but they really don't share a lot of the information of what's made them successful or how to become successful. But EXP, like I said, the collaboration and plus the Icon program, instills that within EXP, which is, I think, excellent. I think that is just a great program. So I'm very honored to be part of that.
I love that. I love that. So people listening in here, they obviously have the opportunity with your guidance to help get to that Icon. So if you got people listening here that are thinking about aligning with your organization, like I'm very familiar with some of the uplines that you have and the power that people like Jay and Michael and Albie and them bring. So like, talk to me a little bit about someone that's listening right now going, you know what, I'm considering joining David's line. Because I might be in California, New York, Alaska. I mean, heck, Puerto Rico. I don't even know all the places. We're in Mexico, India, right?
Yeah.
If these places are listening in, like, what are some of the things that you're providing and, through coaching and training and education, along with your upline, that these people should be aware of that they're not going to get in other places?
Well, obviously the upline, Jay Kinder, they have their coaching program. It's NAEA, as we know about that. So there's a lot of things you go out there, get certified for, of selling and buying, and so a lot of other things as well. But for me, I think the biggest thing that I've had success with is I've made every agent better that's been with me. Every agent has learned and became a better agent. Ones who stayed on my team, and then ones who have left, decided to leave and go on their own. All of them are producing still, and that's what I take the most honor in, and most, I'm appreciative of, that I bring people in, I'm able to help their businesses. So one, I'm always available whenever they need me. That's one thing. I'm very scheduled in what I do, but ultimately you can get me pretty easy. So, I do a lot of coaching with my group, for sure. My team, I meet with my team every day. We're together every day. But I definitely can say I'm most proud that everybody that's in my organization has produced and is producing.
I love that.
So that's great.
I love that. Now, the last question I ask everybody, and I'm super excited to ask it to you just because of your experience and background, is you're going to have some people listening to this that are considering joining your organization, and maybe they're on step one, like they've never even heard about EXP and they're just now learning a little bit from this conversation, or maybe they're step 20 and they're just hesitant, right? Maybe they have some ego in the way and they know it's the right thing to do. Maybe they have some reservations. Like if anybody on any of those paths, like what would you say for you is the correct path for an agent to start the journey of exploring EXP the real way, right? Not what a Facebook group says, not what their ad says. Like, what would you say are the first few steps that agent should take? Obviously, outside of calling you up, right? Calling David up is going to be your best step out of them all. But if they're a little scared to call you, or they don't want you to know that they're thinking about moving yet, like what steps would you take them through to actually get the real story of EXP? And then do you have any advice for them just like battling some things like, man, I don't want to change my signs, or I'm going to have to, move my license over. It's going to be hard. Like, a lot of us, I had never moved from KW. I'm tattooed with KW stuff. Like I thought I was going to be forever. Like, so talk to me about that, man. Like, what would you give as advice for that?
What I would say is this, how I did it really. I didn't talk to any EXP agents at first. I was hesitant. Obviously they're going to love it.
Yep.
So I was kind of skeptical of that, of course, and I called Justin, he did tell me it's great. It's going to be the best thing ever. So, I researched it myself. So I went online with the EXP, online, printed off some stuff, read through it. Then I went to YouTube. I'm a big YouTube guy. I watch a lot of videos on there. So I just kind of searched EXP, and that's actually how I found Jay. So it's kind of weird, Jay got us from some videos. And so I just watched a lot of his videos. He broke down a lot of things. He had a lot of conversation with different agents that came over or that he brought over. So I listened to all of what they were saying. And then I also went and found the anti-EXP people who were agents who were either there before or didn't go, and why. Excuse me. And quite honestly, everything I found on those agents, they were talking things that weren't true. They were saying, they were thinking certain things, so they would just put it in a video. And when you research it, it wasn't true as far as, you have to recruit, or you have to do this, or you can't get rev share if you're not a icon, or, all this stuff I was hearing. So, so that made me think, man, that those are kind of not true. Obviously something's going on there, but that's kind of what I did. And then I reached out to Jay. I called him directly and said, hey man, I'm watching your videos. What's the bad? There's got to be some bad stuff in there, and he said it perfectly. Like I always say, you can't unsee what you saw or whatever. But ultimately he said there's a stage in the EXP research piece where you get obsessed with seeing it. You watch as many videos, you're all in it, right? And then you go through the second stage, which is something's wrong with it. Now I got to find everything I can out. What is wrong with it? I'm going to dig. I'm going to find it. And then you find out that you don't find it, then you go into, or how can I make the transition? So I did all of that. That's how I did it. But I think the main thing, if you're not somebody who watches YouTube and you don't want to take that time, you should contact an EXP agent. It doesn't have to be one in your market. It could be anyone, but ultimately, and have your questions written down, ask these questions. But I think in our market here, that's the biggest problem we face is there's so much rumors out there about EXP that almost all of them aren't true. And by the time they talk to somebody, they've already went to a different company or something like that. And like, oh, I wish I would have known, or, they just got to call an agent too to figure it out, and
love that.
Get the answers. So
I love that. Well, and David, I think one thing that you can confirm for me is when I was at KW, there was rumors about KW, right? False rumors, true rumors. When you were at Coldwell Banker and Berkshire and Century, there was always true rumors and false rumors and things like that. And I think the reason why there might be this uptick, it's not that I know there's an uptick in false information about EXP is when you have a company grow as fast as it's grown, you're increasing so fast that it's just the rules of business, right? You're going to have rumors go around that aren't true when you have that much go through, right? I always make the how do I say it? Comparison to like the NFL draft or MLB. On draft day, there's rumors everywhere because you're about to draft thousands of new players.
Right.
Now, when it's in the middle of the season, there's not very many rumors because there's not a lot of growth. And so I think that's kind of where you're seeing here is like, it's like any company, you just got to do the research yourself. And I loved how you said it. You just went to the source and asked the question.
Yeah, absolutely. No, those are great examples, especially the draft and all that. And of course that's done to throw other teams off as well, right? Because we want Justin, but if we act like we're not into him, they won't draft him either. And then, we get a chance to get him, but
exactly. I mean, I even remember some of the local KW offices, they were literally making false information on documents to basically, deter other people away or attract the right people. And I think that happens at all companies at some level. It's just a matter of doing your own research.
Right. Yeah. And I think from an agent who is on the fence and this is what I've done with a couple agents, and most of the time it works. And sometimes, no matter what you do, they're just they just don't see it at this time. So maybe down the road they will. But ultimately, you just got to do the numbers. If you're in a numbers business, and that's all I did, man. I just broke down side by side where I was at before and EXP. And I just said, no capping in the scenario. Act like I don't cap. Am I making more money? Yes. Franchise fee, no more. Gone. That was the year that we left, it was like over 25 grand for us just in franchise fees. So that was a lot of money, that we just paid in franchise fee. But ultimately, that's what you got to do is you got to just do the numbers. Don't look at even the stock or the rev share stuff. Just look at numbers. Are you coming over 80-20? Are you making more money? Is it franchise fee? You're making more money there, right? If it is, just, put those checks, and then you got to go down that way and then add the stock and the rev share maybe at the very end, right? But we got the training. I mean, there's like 15, 20 classes a day.
I can't even keep track.
It's crazy. Yeah. You're going to attend, right? We have the shareholder. We have the EXP convention at the end of the year, right? That we're now going to get to go to in person, which is great. But ultimately, there's just so much training involved. And like I said, the collaboration of all of these other agents. And here's the thing. Here's what I really love about EXP too is all of these leaders that are over here, Daniel Beer and the Kyle Whistles and Jay Kinders and Albie State and, Brent Gove, they all throw their own masterminds and summits. And, I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of places you could go to expand your team knowledge or your business or lead producing or whatever. I mean, I've never been around a group like this. It's unbelievable.
I love it. I love it, man. Well, David, I know you said you're super available, in a few different mediums for people listening right now. And I especially want to point out the pro forma is what I call it. Like if people don't know how to run those financials and maybe they don't even fully understand what they're paying now with their own company. I know with you and your experience, they should be calling you up going, hey, can you help me do my financials? Because I know you could do it really fast for them. So I think you guys are listening here. Make sure that you guys do that. And number two, make sure also that if you guys are listening in here, you reach out to Dave if you want to join your organization. If you guys have any questions, I would absolutely love for you guys. So Dave, what's the best way that people can reach out to you? I have your information plastered all over. What's the best way that they can get a hold of you? Best way would be email. Just email me and that'd be the best way. Yeah. You want my email or are you going to? Perfect. You're good, man. I'll have it plastered all over the screen for you here, all over YouTube, all the different places. Nice. Last thing but not least, David, I just want to say thank you for your time. It's my pleasure to be able to steal 30 minutes of your time. I know you're in a crazy market, just like everywhere else in the world, where 10, 15, 20 minutes could mean the difference between offers getting accepted or team members needing your help. So I appreciate your time, and I look forward to everybody getting to listen to this episode. Man, thank you so much. It's been my pleasure. And again, I got to meet another EXP agent, man, which is great. So hopefully I'll get to see you in November. Absolutely. I will be there, man. Good. We'll see each other at a few Brent Gove events and a few different things along the way. So I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Justin. Take care, man. Thank you. You too. Bye. All right.